In this video, we will discuss how AI is actually used in trading. Stick around to the end to receive a free trial of an expert advisor that uses machine learning. So, if you've been around the expert advisor MQL5 world for the past few years, you've likely seen the emergence of AI in the sales pages of all of the most popular expert advisors. And quite often, if you go on MQL5 Marketplace, for instance, you'll see lots of marketing terms and very fancy models being used, saying that this expert advisor uses ChatGPT to make trades and advanced reinforcement learning and neural networks, etc. And I just wanted to make a video as somebody who does use machine learning in our expert advisors on how we see machine learning actually used to develop trading systems. So putting aside a lot of more of the marketing fluff and discussing how machine learning is actually used and how to tell when assessing an expert advisor or any sort of trading system if it's properly using machine learning or even using machine learning at all, or if it's simply trying to be used as a marketing gimmick in order to charge higher prices for an expert advisor. So kicking us off, where is my knowledge of machine learning based on? When I was beginning my trading bot journey, I read this book here by Dr. Marcos Lopez de Prado, and this is a very popular book in the quant and even retail algo trader community. It's called Advances in Financial Machine Learning. I would highly recommend that you check this out if you're interested. Mr. Lopez de Prado actually runs ADIA, which is the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority's quant programs, and he has a very impressive background of working at some of the largest financial institutions in the world, as well as multiple PhDs, I believe, in econometrics and something with statistics. So very smart guy. And he's invented many of these concepts and really translated traditional machine learning concepts to trading. And that's really where I learned and where many people have learned how to use machine learning in a trading context from. So in this presentation, we will discuss some of those concepts and then how we here at Prosperity Algo have applied those to our expert advisors. So I think a good place to start is machine learning 101. What is a classifier versus a regressor? These are the two biggest categories of models. And I thought this toy example might be helpful. A regression, if you remember high school math, would be what is the temperature tomorrow and give you a number. So you likely remember linear regression, like y is equal to mx plus b. You're trying to get a number. So trying to predict what the temperature is tomorrow, or alternatively trying to perhaps predict price in the context of trading. So this would be a simple linear regression. There are more complex ones too, but linear is the most basic version. And on the other hand, we also have classification or a classifier model. And that's giving you a binary choice between two buckets typically. So in this example, it would be, is it going to be hot or cold tomorrow, right? So regression is what's the temperature tomorrow, and classification is cold or hot. So taking it back to trading, the price tomorrow of gold could be $2,700. That would be a regression. Versus classification would be, is it higher tomorrow or lower tomorrow? So these are the two most common categories. And so one thing that I like to look out for is quite often in our context, regression models are not that useful, but they are what most people usually start off with. It's almost a meme in the algo trading community that, and I did this, every beginner does this when they start, is they try and throw a bunch of data into a neural network regression model and predict price, and it's completely useless for trading. But it looks cool. Ultimately, what we care about as traders is knowing the direction, right? Because you want to know if you're going to go long or short. you don't really care if price today will be close to price tomorrow, because let's say price now is $2,300. If price goes to $2,305 or it goes to $2,295, in both situations, you're close to 2,300. But if you went long, in one situation you made money, in one situation you lost money. So really, for our purposes here as a trader, like a retail Forex expert advisor trader, we care a lot more about direction than we care about being close to the price, right? So this is where classification models really shine. A, you're asking the model to predict something a lot easier, right? You're not asking it to give you the exact price or the exact temperature. You're just asking it to make a binary choice. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Is it going to be hot or is it going to be cold? So because of this, it's a lot more straightforward to train a model where you have a binary choice. And we'll come back to this in more detail in the following slides. So this was a concept invented by Dr. Marcos Lopez de Prado, and it's called triple barrier labeling. So the concept of labeling is when we are training a classifier model, so the up-down classifier, as I like to call it, you have to give it a target, something to actually look for. And to do so, let's imagine we're here, we're currently at this level, and this is our price. Price can do two things from here. It can either go up or it can go down. So what Mr. Lopez de Prado said is he invented triple barrier labeling. Essentially, if it goes up, you would look for it in the data and label it as a 1. If it goes down, you'd look for it in the data and label it as a -1. And then if it hits a time barrier, so let's say you only want to open trades for 2 days, it would then hit the final barrier and it would be either 1 or -1 or 0, depending on if it went maybe up here, down here, or 0 if you set your parameters that way. What we do here at Prosperity Algo Solutions is a slight variation of this called double barrier labeling. And as the name would suggest, we don't typically have a time barrier once a trade is open, largely because our systems are scalpers, so they close very quickly regardless. Therefore, the triple barrier tends to be less relevant here. But really, how you train a model, how you train a classifier model, is you need to give it a target. And we have found, and what many good traders do, is instead of trying to predict price, the exact place it's going to be, you simply ask the model to tell you one thing. Is it going to go up from where it is, or is it going to go down from where it is? So that's the type of machine learning which we find to typically work best. So if somebody is showing you this beautiful neural net like predicted price where you can see the projected price forecasting with the real price, usually they're just showing you marketing gimmicks. You want to keep your eye out for classifiers. Regressors can be used, don't get me wrong, but for our context, this is what's most commonly used in a legitimate context. So, what is an actual machine learning model? I'm sure you're familiar with like the ChatGPTs of the world, which are large language models. They're super complex, they use enormous quantities of data, but is that what we actually need for trading? And I would argue no. It's like taking a multi-purpose bazooka for something which needs a scalpel. It's simply not the right tool for the job. And even neural nets, they're fancy. They have many use cases, but is it necessarily the best thing for our up-down classifier? And what many traders would argue is no. Like, despite there being lots of interesting research and developments in the field, currently for this type of trading, tree-based models are often the most effective. And this would be a really good example of what a tree-based model is. So here's a salary example, but it shows like, should you take a job or should you not take a job based on a series of conditions. So is the salary between a certain range? Yes. Is the office near home? Yes. And does it provide cab facility? Yes. If not, you decline the offer. So simple decision tree, which we've seen in many, many different contexts. And this is an example of how it might look in trading. Essentially, how a tree-based model works is it tries to, in the context of a classifier, split the samples or the trades into two different buckets given a series of conditions. So in this context, you would have given the model a bunch of different trades, so a bunch of different examples, data points, which would have happened, and you would have given them variables which occurred at the same time of those trades. So let's say we gave it 100 trades which occurred on Tuesday at 9 a.m. on gold. We would have also, in this example, given it the ADX values at those times, the ATR values at those times, the EMA values at those times, and the MACD values at those times. And then the model would have essentially tried to use the different indicator values it was given to split the data into different buckets. Maybe let's just start with, let's assume we only have the ADX. It can say, hey, if the ADX is below 40, it's going to go down. If the ADX is above 40, it's going to go up. So then what it would do is it would then create two buckets where it would split the data accordingly. And what I really like about tree-based models is that they work very similarly to how normal traders actually think. So as a trader, we think like decision trees. We might be like, hey, if price is above the EMA, we are within our time range that we like to trade, and we're seeing an engulfing candle enter, right? So a series of confluences is essentially just a manual decision tree. And the tree-based model does this, except it does it automatically. So you would give it a bunch of data points, and then it will try and find its own confluences, solving for maximizing the split between buckets. So to give you an example, like the values of 1 and 12, these would be a count of the two different classes, up or down, based on the series of conditions. So the actual software behind these models will solve for maximizing the impurity between these buckets, and then it will tell you which conditions best fit that. So I encourage you to go look at some videos on how decision trees work if you're more interested in this. But the high-level takeaway is decision trees are great for trading because they mirror how traders think anyway. To go a bit more into detail, not dwelling too long, is decision trees are a very simple model. They're quite prone to overfitting. So usually in a live trading environment, you would want to use something like a random forest or a boosted tree, which takes hundreds and hundreds of decision trees, building them out of subsamples of the data, and using that to create a more robust model. So this is something which is interesting, so just looking into, but it's just a technique used to reduce overfitting. And now finally to discuss how this actually works in MQL5. So typically, and what we like to do, is we would train the model in Python. I actually prefer developing all of our systems in Python at first because you're less likely to over-optimize if done in more of a notebook environment. Afterwards, from Python, you would export the file in a ONNX format. This file format can then be read by the MQL5 expert advisor and be used in your trades. And how this would look if I open up our missile file, or our missile expert advisor, which has been performing quite excellently as of late. If you go into the experts tab, you can see here, for instance, it's printing a bunch of random numbers, and these are all like indicator values where different transformations have been applied. So I sometimes like to multiply values together, and there's a whole process which you can get to get the optimal values. And then you can see that the expert advisor is actually using the ONNX file to come up with a classifier value. So here it's saying the machine learning signal is -1. And then, typically how we like to use machine learning is you don't want to make all of your trading decisions based on it. You simply want to use it as a filter. So in this case, the actual technical signal is to go short, and then the machine learning signal is also to go short, so it would take the trade. Whereas in this example, if the technical analysis signal is to go long, but the machine learning signal is to go short, the machine learning signal is to go long, it would then not take the trade. So to avoid this video getting too long, I will wrap it up and encourage you to leave a comment if you would like me to go deeper into any other points. And just to show you quickly, if you're interested in trying an expert advisor that uses machine learning, the Golden Missile, which I just showed, which combines machine learning with a very tried and tested trading strategy based on impulse candles, is currently available for a 7-day free trial. And I can show you the MyFX book. We've been running this since we offered it to the public and is currently showing excellent results with around an 88% win rate and good profitability with very modest risk of the past few months. So would highly recommend checking it out, and please let me know how you find it. Take care and have a great day.